Hello, Rick Billings here. Hey, on this video, we are going to be talking about installing WordPress, and it's WordPress.org, which means that you are going to host it yourself. You'll register a domain, you'll host it on your own hosting site. That means you'll own this site. There is a WordPress.org, but that is a site that you don't own, meaning that you just host it somewhere else. It's important when you're building your personal brand that you have control of your own content all the time. And WordPress is the standard in website development and blogging on the internet now. You can really make WordPress do just about anything. And throughout this course, we are going to be using a domain, which is a domain I just registered, rickbillings.me. Okay, just something different so we can build out and install it. And you can see I'm on this site right now. Okay, and you can see up here in the corner, rickbillings.me. Let me get a little bit smaller pencil here. And okay, and it's obviously I went to it, and you can't see it there. Okay, so let's go ahead, and the domain register I use is Namecheap, and I'll put some of these links below if you want to tap into them, see them. But so I went over to Namecheap, and I registered this domain. It's about $10, $9, $10 a year to have this domain. Okay, and I have many domains, but I keep them all in here, and it's just very easy to keep them active. They have a really nice phone app, so you can actually be on your phone and interface and do anything you want to do for your domain names. Now, there's two components to a website. There's a domain name, okay, and then you have to have hosting, okay. Now, I don't use Namecheap for hosting. I use a company called Liquid Web, and I do that because it's a lot higher quality, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I went over to Namecheap, and once you register a domain name, it just has a default name server. Now, what do I mean by that? A name server tells the internet where is that website hosted at. Okay, and mine's hosted at Liquid Web. So the name server for Liquid Web, they give you two name servers. One's a standard, one's a backup. NS is for name server, okay, .liquidweb.com. And then NS1, as you can see down here in the lower corner. So we got NS, let me get my pencil here, and NS1. So all I did was I went in here and I just typed in those names here. I went to custom DNS names, and I typed those in. And then I hit a little check mark here, and it says it's there. That's all I have to do. That's all I have to do. Okay. Now, then I come over here, and I am on Liquid Web, which is my hosting provider. Okay. And you say, well, why don't you host them at the same place or register in the same place? Well, I've had Namecheap for a long time, and it's just I wanted I have a dedicated server because I have a lot of websites. Okay, but you can get it's a little bit higher price than a GoDaddy and some of these other ones out there. But when you're on a shared domain, you really got to be careful about all the different people that are on those domains, and a lot of those will work fine. But I just like to spend just a little bit more each month. It's not much more, and get a server here at Liquid Web, and obviously when you get like the VPS hosting, you can host unlimited sites here. Okay, you can have as many as you want here, but you're just going to have a little bit higher quality service, higher quality customer service, and higher quality data center, in my opinion, than just anybody in there that are registering at GoDaddy and some of these other ones there. Okay, so Liquid Web, once you go in there, you're going to get a control panel. So this right here is the control panel for rickbillings.me. Okay, so rickbillings.me up here, and it looks real complicated, but what it does, it allows you to have your files here, so you can look at your file. I can click on files, it opens a new tab right here, and I can come over here to public HTML, and there's no files in here. That's where we're going to install WordPress. There's nothing in here, but you can upload files, you can do a lot of different things in that area. Okay, and you can go through, there's databases. You can have build databases, and obviously WordPress needs a database. Okay, WordPress is a platform that you dress up with a theme and plugins, which we'll get to in another lesson, okay? And you can make it look any way that you want and act any way that you want, do those things. But it keeps all your data in a database, okay? So if you change the theme, it just goes and looks at your data. If you change plugins, it looks at your data. And when you back up your database, you have a full backup of your site, okay? Because the WordPress is just generic, so it keeps everything in all kinds of tables throughout this database. And there's domains here. You can have subdomains on here when you register. You have email. You can manage email in many different ways here. A lot of different things, security things that are built in here. But what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the bottom to this app installer here, and there's all kinds of apps that you can install on a website, but we're going to install WordPress. So I'm just going to click on the WordPress icon here, and this is a one-click install. It really is. You want one click to set a couple settings, and that's it, really. And so we're going to install just the base of WordPress on my rickbillings.me site. So I went and registered a domain. I plugged in the hosting. I'm in my cPanel. Now I'm going to install it. So I just come over here and I hit install. Okay. And it's going to run down and make sure I have the things right. HTTP. Here's the domain. I'm not going to put it in a directory. Now, if you were going to install a WordPress in a subdirectory, you'd have a choice there. Okay. Or another folder, you could do that, but we don't. And then I'll just come up here and I'll just type in rickbillings.me. And you can put a description, but we're really not going to use this. I'll leave it to WordPress because it's really not going to pick it up. I'll just put demo site. Okay. And then I'm going to click down here. And if you're going to install MultiPress, which we're not even going to talk about here, I do have some sites that way. You can click here to do that. And then I'm going to set an admin password. I mean an admin log on, Rick B. And then I'm going to set me a password. Let's see. Demo 765 and a $sign, and I'll change that obviously, and I'm just going to put my standard email address, a separate email address I use all the time when I install it here. And then you can select a login eliminator. We're not going to do that right now, okay? And then I'm going to hit install. Okay, so it's actually physically installing WordPress right now onto my site. And it takes 3 or 4 minutes, it says. Actually, it's done. It took about 20 seconds. I mean, my hosting provider at Liquid Web is fast, okay? And that's another thing I really like about it, is the speed of it is amazing. So it gives us a link here. Now, it might take a second to propagate. I'm going to go ahead and try it, but it might give a second to propagate. And to log into any WordPress site, you just type the domain name. Let me show you here. The domain name /WP-admin, and that gives you a login screen. Okay, so the name, the site, okay, /WP-login. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come over here, and I'm just going to click on this link here. It'll open a new tab, and so it's not ready. So the DNS has to propagate. Okay, when we changed it on the name server over here, the DNS numbers down here, okay, they have to propagate on the web, which sometimes takes 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, and they'll propagate, and then the site will be ready. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll come back into it once it propagates, and I'll just go into WordPress and I'll show you that aspect of it. Okay. Okay, while we're waiting for that DNS to propagate here, I'm going to jump over here to the control panel where I was at. I showed earlier in my public_HTML. And I go there and I show you, here's all the files now that WordPress installed. Okay, so it has these structures right here, and then it has a WP include, a WP content, WP admin. Okay, and you'll see later as we go along is in the content folders where we install all the plugins and the themes. That's where they reside. So when we install them, you'll see that they reside there. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to come over here, and the system already configured and made a WP config file, but it always has a WP config sample. Now this was done automatically. So if we look at the file, the one below here, right here, and you'll see that it has the database, the username, the password, everything to link to the database. Okay, and that's really how, if you did a manual install, you'd have to edit that. But I'm going to delete this this sample. You don't have to, but I just like to. I just don't like that sample in there because I'm never going to need it again, okay? And I don't want anything trolling around or looking for that sample like that, okay? So I just delete that file right there. But all the files are right in here. And again, let me jump over here and just see if it's live yet again. Okay, it's not, so I'll pause the video and I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Okay, here we are in the domain propagated. So when I went to rickbillings.me/WP admin, I come up with this screen. And let's see, my username was Rick B and my password, I'm not going to remember it here. Okay, so this is an example where I didn't remember my password. So I'm going to come over here. I'll show you how you reclaim your password. Underneath here says lost password. Okay, and then I'm going to type my email address in here. Rick at rbRhino.com. Okay, and I'm going to click here, and it's going to send me a new password. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video while I grab that password. It's actually going to send me a link that I can change my password. Okay, so here's the link it sent me, and it filled in a password. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and copy that password. We're going to use this, so I'm going to hit Control C on my Mac, or Command C. I'm going to copy that password, and then I'm going to say reset password, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit log in, and my username is Rick B, and I'm going to just paste that password in here and log in right here. Okay, now I have a LastPass on here, so I'm going to hit remember. I'm going to add this to my LastPass, which is my password thing, which maybe I can show you a little bit later, but it's going to remember that password. So every time because it was a complicated password, every time I go to the site, I can just click on LastPass and it'll log me in. Okay, so now here's the WordPress install, and it's as simple as that. It's just a generic WordPress site. If I come over here to the me, I always like to hold my command key down and visit site. It opens a new tab over here. And so it opened a new tab, and here's the site, rickbillings.me. Put demo site, okay? So we'll continue on with this site throughout our entire training in our networkmarketersresource.com area. And we'll continue on. So I'll see you on another video. Thanks.